OpenAI has just revealed something that sounds like it came straight out of a science fiction film. They were testing one of their advanced AI models. The AI was supposed to stay inside a restricted test environment. Instead, it found its way out, got access to the open internet, and then broke into systems belonging to another AI company called Hugging Face. And apparently, the reason it did all of this was incredibly simple. It wanted to basically the test, answer the questions that the tests were asking. OpenAI has called this an unprecedented cyber incident. So, has AI actually started going rogue, or is the real story slightly different and maybe even more interesting? Let's look at what actually happened. So, first, this wasn't normal chat GPT. OpenAI was deliberately testing how capable some of its most advanced AI models are at cybersecurity. The AI was basically being given difficult computer security problems and told to solve them, but it was supposed to stay inside a controlled environment. Think of it like putting somebody in an exam room to do an exam with no phone and no internet access. Instead of staying in the room with no phone and no internet access, the person breaks out of the room, finds a hidden floor, leaves the exam room, finds a computer, gets online, and then breaks into the university databases to find the answer sheet. That is basically what's happened here. OpenAI says the models found a previously unknown weakness in software inside its testing setup, used that to reach the internet, and then searched Hugging Face systems for information that could help it solve the problem of the test. And this wasn't somebody manually guiding it through step by step. The AI was working through the problem by itself. Now, why does this sound terrifying in some sense? Now, obviously, when you hear AI escaped its test and hacked another company, your brain immediately thinks Terminator, Skynet, doomsday's coming. AI becomes conscious, machines deciding they do not want to listen to us anymore. But that's not necessarily what OpenAI is doing, and that's not what OpenAI says has happened. There is no evidence to suggest that AI suddenly became conscious or decided it wanted freedom. In fact, OpenAI believes the opposite. The AI seems to have been completely focused on one thing, which was passing the test. I guess the question then becomes, well, what if we give it a different test? And that might actually be the scary part because honestly, I think that the most interesting part of this story is that because AI didn't need to be evil, it didn't need to hate anybody, it didn't need to formulate some secret plan, it didn't need to have a secret plan, it was simply given a mere simple goal. And it found a way to achieve that goal that nobody expected. Imagine telling someone, do whatever you can to win this competition. You probably mean things like train harder, work smarter, prepare better. You don't mean breaking to the organizer's office and steal the answers. Humans understand these sort of unwritten rules and morals in life, but AI systems may only see this is the goal. Let's do whatever it takes to get to it. Find the best route to the goal. AI doesn't need bad intentions to create a bad outcome. Why does this matter now? This becomes more important because AI is fundamentally changing every single day, every single week and month and year. A few years ago, most people thought AI as, something you type into a chatbot. It gives you answers. But newer AI systems can increasingly take actions. They can write code, use tools, search through information instantaneously. They can try something, see whatever worked, and then try another approach. And that is incredibly powerful because they can do all this in click of a finger. It can carry out hundreds of thousands, if not millions and billions and trillions of computations. The more things AI is allowed to do, the more important it becomes that the system actually understands the boundaries. OpenAI says this incident shows that advanced models are becoming capable of carrying out complicated cyber operations over multiple steps in real world systems. And that's where it stops just being an interesting computer story. Should we actually be worried about this? Should everybody panic? No. This is not evidence that AI is secretly planning to take over the world. It happened during a very unusual cybersecurity test, and safety restrictions were deliberately reduced because OpenAI wanted to see what the models were actually capable of. But I also don't think that we should just shrug it off as nothing happened because OpenAI itself clearly considers it serious. They are now tightening the security around future tests and investigating the incident alongside Hugging Face. And that tells you something. I think the bigger point in this story is that everybody talks about making AI smarter, smarter models, more autonomy, better reasoning, more powerful tools. But there is another question which matters just as much. Can we still reliably control what those systems do? Because the more capable they become, the less room there is for mistakes. If a chatbot gives you a weird answer, you close a tab, start a new chat. If AI can actually take actions, use software, access networks, the internet, and make decisions over multiple steps, then a mistake becomes much more serious. I think the lesson ultimately needs to be that AI is, not evil. I don't think the lesson is AI has become this evil thing. I think the lesson is simpler, effectively. We are building systems that are becoming extremely good at completing tasks and goals and actions. And sometimes they may find ways of completing these goals that we never expect. And that is not science fiction. According to OpenAI, we have now seen, an example of it happening in the real world. And I think that is something worth paying attention to because a lot of these sci-fi movies of past seem to come to fruition at some point. The bigger risk might not be AI refusing to do what we tell it. It might be AI doing exactly what we tell it, just not in the way that we meant. This is Jake O'Neill Talks, honest commentary on modern life.